Hello everybody, Fuzzfinger here, welcome back to Mr. Pandaria. And today we are going to the Stormstout Brewery. This is the second available instance in the beta. It recently opened up in the last patch a few days ago. I did try and queue up for it when it first came out, but the servers was such a nightmare that I didn't bother trying. I was originally in the queue for about 30 minutes, and with no sign of actually getting a group, I gave up. At the moment though, I was queuing for about 5 minutes, so it certainly seems to be a lot better. I have never been into this instance before, so take this video more of a being able to see the instance and the content that Blizzard are giving us here, rather than how to actually do the instance. This is not a strategy guide. I'm not going to pretend I know what I'm doing. I don't. This really is a video on what the instance is like, especially from the first playthrough perspective, is what I was trying to say. Unfortunately, there was an ever so slight screw up in the fact that I didn't have my microphone on when I was playing through the instance, so I did 25 minutes of talking to myself for no reason. I'm now having to record the commentary in my editing software after the fact. The most embarrassing thing is that it's not the first time I've happened to do this. Anyway, you see this bar at the bottom of the screen on the interface. That's basically a progress bar that fills up as you kill these trash monsters. The general goal for the first part of the instance is to fill this bar up completely, and that unlocks the first boss. At least that's basically the way I understood the mechanic. So every time you kill a trash mob, it slightly fills the bar up. I think you need about 100 in total. Don't worry, the trash come in mass spawn shortly and are very easy to kill. In fact, I don't think it's 100, sorry, I think it's about 40, which isn't that bad to be honest. This is quite a quick instance, probably about the same length as the Jade Serpent. Of course, we did the pre-quest as well for this place, which was also fun and interesting, and I advise that you go and check that out if you haven't already. You can find it somewhere floating around on my channel. I won't spoil it by saying anything else around it. Apart from that, I don't think quests in instances have yet been implemented. If they have, I haven't been able to find any. Presumably they are Blizzard are going to put some in before release. At least I hope they are. An instance without quests is, well, it's not as good as an instance with quests, I suppose, so I'm sure we can expect those at some point. For now though, we just continue on killing this trash. The groups are quite big, but the mobs aren't that damaging, so it's nothing to really concern yourselves with. Unfortunately, I'm not getting any experience here since the level cap is still level 87, which is what I am. For some reason, the level cap wasn't raised in the last patch to level 88, besides the fact that Blizzard did implement a new zone for testing. So I'm a little bit disappointed they didn't put the level cap up, but not to worry. As you can see, lots of mobs to fight here. We just need to finish off filling up that progress bar, and the boss we want to kill, the first boss, appears in this very room. It's a good idea to dodge the barrels that come at you as well, since they do a little bit of damage if they hit you. Although you can jump on them if you're quick enough with your mouse clicks, and you can control it for a few seconds as it moves around, and you can damage mobs by going into them. So we're just about to fill up this bar. Maybe this group should do it. Yep, when all the mobs start running out, you know you've got enough. The boss will jump down, so be ready for him. There it is. It's basically a big version of the trash we've just been killing. It's actually nice to see that this instance is fairly complete by the looks of it. It seems that a lot of the boss models and trash models are already in the game, so it's certainly looking good anyway. I'm not too sure what mechanics this boss had, apart from the fact that he sends barrels everywhere. As far as I can tell, you just dodge the barrels. Again, you can jump on them if you want to. They do a little bit of damage as you drive them into the boss, but other than that, he seemed fairly easy. Bosses around this level have about 8.5 million health, so definitely more than heroics in Cataclysm. Definitely a step up anyway. At least health wise, the challenge isn't necessarily much harder. So there we have it, just keep dodging those barrels and he will go down. There's the new looting interface anyway, if you haven't seen it already. Pretty much works the same way. It's a little bit shinier, nicer to look at, and it's bordered with the colour of the item as well. Just in case you had any confusion about what had dropped. I don't know what the point of those two mobs were, they just die as soon as they spawn. And now there seems to be like a gauntlet of some kind. Our group seems to take its time with this gauntlet, but I'm guessing the best way to do this is just to run all the way to the top. And there's another boss at the end of the gauntlet. Since mobs keep spawning, I do just recommend that your group just keeps moving. So, like I say, none of us, well I say none of us, I presume none of the group here has actually been here before. No, I haven't. So it's a learning experience for everyone really. I do get a user interface button that pops up on my screen shortly. I'm not sure if it should have popped up from the start, if it's bugged or not, because I can see other people using it already. It basically, there it is, look. It basically lets you stun the mobs by throwing them into the air. And it just seems to be a little bit bugged. I'm guessing you should get it right from the beginning of the gauntlet. I can imagine this gauntlet getting a little bit annoying if you've done it a few times on heroic mode when you're farming for your justice points or whatever, but it's not too bad to be honest. It's got these evil looking rabbits in it, so it definitely persuades you to kill everything, that's for sure. Evil little things, aren't they? And if you just come out here, I think this is where the next boss is. I think it's just out here. Yes. It sort of just drops down from the sky. I'm not sure what triggers it or if it's random or what, but these mobs, there's the boss. These mobs also carry on spawning throughout the fight, so be prepared for that. From what I could tell, this boss does just a few things you want to watch out for. He sprays some sort of fire from his mouth that he spins around in a circle. You just want to move around with him to dodge that. And he does his whirlwind attack, which melee are going to want to move from. And he probably does some other things as well, but like I say, this video is definitely not a strategy guide. So don't look to it for that. And there's that fire thing that comes out his mouth, just avoid that. presumably does a little bit more on heroic, which we will discover at level 90, I am sure. Otherwise, you might want to just AoE some of these ads down just before the group gets overwhelmed. And yes, that is a giant carrot just sitting on the floor. Don't ask me why. I do not know. But it is still a giant carrot. So, yes, you do get quite a few of these trash mobs. You might just want to try and control them a little bit. But, again, this boss is not too difficult. I don't know whether it's undertuned or if I've just got a half-decent group, or if this is just the philosophy that Blizzard are going for with non-heroic groups. Either way, it's not too difficult. And there's 3 bosses in this instance, so that was the second. Let's go and find the third. It's not actually a long walk away. A bit like the Jade Temple Serpent instance thingy. I think there's a nice balance here between bosses and trash. The Gauntlet's a little bit annoying, but overall this instance doesn't take very long. There's some interesting trash packs now, just before the final boss. Some of these trash do have different abilities that you have to watch out for. Looks like the healer left, so we'll just have to quickly wait for a new healer. Shouldn't take long with how many people are playing beta at the moment. It says we've actually got a healer found, so just got to wait for them to join. There they are. And let's go and kill this weird looking thing down here. Now, you can actually access a lot of the outside of this instance from the Valley of the Four Winds, I think the zone is. Apparently Blizzard's new design philosophy, they mentioned is at BlizzCon, is that a lot of the instances are actually going to really take place in the world. We saw some of this in Cataclysm, but apparently it's something Blizzard really want to do from the Pandaria, so this guy does a few damaging things you'll want to avoid. He's got about 1.5 million health, so he can take a little bit of DPS to get down, but he's not challenging anyway, don't get me wrong. He just does a few things. Although this instance and Jade Temple aren't particularly tough on normal, I think potentially on heroic they could be much harder depending on how Blizzard tune them. I know they said they don't want heroics as hard as they were in Kata when it first came out, but potentially they could still be very hard because of the different mechanics and whatnot. And I think the challenge mode, which is the new mode that's in Mists, where you have to do it based on a timed run, could potentially be really hard. So I hope to get the tuning right for those to make them fun and interesting, and not just a pushover. One of the things about the challenge mode instances is that they only reward cosmetic gear as far as I'm aware, so they really are optional for those who want to do them. And if you don't, then you're not actually going to miss out on any gear. These trash mobs here spawn bubbles around them, which are a good idea to kill since they reduce damage, prolonging the encounters, as you can see. whatever these mobs are, they make some bloody annoying sounds. Some squealy, screamy, shrieky sounds. It's really quite annoying. But at least it's different, so gotta praise Blizzard for putting new sound effects and art into the game. Although it is an expansion, so they've got no choice really, have they? Although I have to say, art-wise, there's definitely a much bigger jump between Cataclysm and Mists as there was between Wrath and Cata. Blizzard have definitely put, from what I can see so far, a lot more effort into creating new art styles and models for the expansion than they did in Cata. The most we really got in Cata was new elemental models. And yeah, I know we got a few other enemy types and stuff, but of course we got Deathwing, but a lot of the environments were pretty much all of what we'd seen before. So it's nice to see some new variety in Mists, I think. So this is the third type of these sort of mobs that we've encountered since the last boss. If you remember, the first type was that big guy with 1.5 million health. The second type was the smaller ones with the shields that you have to destroy, and this is the middle-sized version of the mob with a variety of different abilities, AoE abilities and stuff you want to avoid. And the final trash fight, just up here, basically includes all of those enemy types. All of them in one pool. So anyway, from what we've seen so far out of this instance and the Jade Serpent, which do you guys think is your favourite instance? They're both completely different from one another, so it's interesting to compare them, I think. I think I prefer the Jade Serpent, but I do like the Stormstout Brewery as well. I think they're both cool 5-mans. But which is your favourite? Let me know. Especially if you've played them both in beta. And we'll just finish this guy off. And now we can progress to the end. Unfortunately, the game sort of bugs for me here. Well, not so much the game actually, it's more the recording, which means there's a big chunk of this fight that's that I've had to cut out. But you can still get the general gist of the idea at least. Basically now, this fight, the boss can have one of, I believe, 2 different set of tactics. So you could basically get one of 2 bosses. I know that sounds a little bit confusing since it's the same guy, but the tactics can be completely different. For this fight, you can see this brown stuff that shoots out from me and the other players. That basically stuns, I believe it stuns, other players that you're within 10 yards with, so you want to stay at range. It's got quite a big hitbox, so don't worry if there's other melee present. Now there's the transition, I apologise for that. That stuff you basically saw him put on the floor does damage and a bunch of other stuff, stops you from attacking as well. But you can click the bubbles that are around the area and you can actually fly in the air, which prevents it from actually affecting you, which is good. Otherwise this boss should go down without a problem, at least with this tactic. Like I say, there is another tactic for depending on how he spawns, but you can cross that bridge when you come to it, I'm sure. That's the final boss. At the moment it doesn't look like it's been itemised. If it has, I don't know where you get the loot from. And nobody else seems to care, so that seems to be it. I hope this video has given you a little bit of insight into what this instance is going to be like. I think it's shaping up pretty well, to be honest. And we'll see what Blizzard give us next. Hopefully in the next patch or 2 we'll get another instance as well, so we can look at that. For now though, thank you very much for joining me. I've been FuzzFinger, and I'll see you next time.